So we're waiting for the PowerPoint? For now, okay.
For now.
Oh, okay.
So we could do it backwards and have the debate first and have the PowerPoint after?
Yeah.
Which means he's winning the debate because he gets to make the last, the final case. Do you want to jump in or should I start?
Sure. So I may be giving a presentation about this once the logistics are worked out, but for the moment I'll just give a verbal introduction. So I'm a mathematician originally, and I've been working on AI since even before I got my Ph.D. in math 30 years ago. And I came to the realization a few years ago that putting AI on the blockchain and creating a sort of self-organizing marketplace of AIs that could both serve customers and serve each other and interact with each other on the blockchain, I came to the conclusion that this solved two problems that were very, very important to me. And one problem is how to transition from narrow AIs that do only one little thing, to AGI, artificial general intelligence, to have an AI that can really learn, reason, and generalize beyond what it's seen to be creative. And the other problem was to make AI develop in a democratic and participatory way so that everyone on the planet can not only benefit from the AI, but participate in the guidance of that AI as it grows, rather than having AI be controlled by a small number of large institutions. When it hit me that a blockchain-based decentralized infrastructure for a community of interacting AIs was the way both to create powerful AGI and to make AI democratic and participatory. I mean, that's when I realized I had to build what ultimately became SingularityNET. And we did a successful token sale for this toward the end of last year. Now we've been staffing up our team and starting to actually build the thing, which brings a whole other set of challenges. And toward the end of this year, we should roll out a scalable version of SingularityNET and begin ramping up utilization by software developers on the one hand and by customers on the other hand who need our AI services. And all right, now we've gone straight to the end of the presentation. We're done.
Well done. Fantastic.
All right. Yeah.
Can you just back it up for us?
Well, you can watch the whole presentation backwards now. Huh?
Well, that's a test of human intelligence. If we
All
show
right.
it backwards, will you still get it?
Yeah.
All right, well, I just summarized the whole thing for you, but no. Is there a device I could use to advance the presentation?
Just say next for now. I'll get one for you.
All right. Next.
That's your clue. Next.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. We all know that. It's quite striking to those like myself I got my PhD 30 years ago in AI. Most of that time, no one really took it seriously as something that could impact the world during our lifetimes. Now, all of a sudden, when you go to the gas station, the guy pumping the gas asks you about AI. It's astoundingly popular, and with good reason. I mean, it's being used across every area of industry now in ways that people can see, for face recognition, self-driving cars, automated trading, and on and on. Next. But as exciting as it is, the state of AI now it's not yet at the level of AI from science fiction novels and so forth. There's a lot of limitations. What we have now is narrow AI. We have AI programs, each of which does an extremely specific thing. And when you deviate from the conditions for which it was designed, it's not intelligent anymore. And furthermore, AI is controlled in a very top-down way by a few large companies and government agencies, which also limits the scope of applications because it's mainly applied to the things of interest to those companies. So these are limitations, and I think we can overcome them. And the narrowness of the AI algorithms and the top-down control of AI from an economic standpoint has fostered a lack of cooperation among AIs. Like each AI is sort of its own thing, living in its own island, wrapped up in a proprietary software or hardware application. You don't have a community of AIs where all the AIs are sharing with each other and learning from each other and coordinating together into larger AI networks. Next. So this is why we created SingularityNET with a number of different goals in mind. We want to move from a bunch of narrow AIs to an integrated general intelligence we want to supply a much wider variety of functions to the world than what AI now does with the limited business models behind it. And we want to ensure, or at least maximize the odds that AI is applied for the common good of everyone, rather than for the good of just a small group of controlling parties. Next. So the key ingredient that the SingularityNET platform adds is to ease the cooperation of different AIs toward achieving common goals. Next. SingularityNET is a platform that enables one to coordinate multiple AIs at large scale, so the different AIs in the network can outsource work to each other and exchange data and information and cooperate and learn how to cooperate in the course of solving problems. Next. So obviously this is a very complicated thing, and I'm not going to be able to explain the full details of the architecture here, but if we draw out what we're building, there's a blockchain or other distributed ledger at the bottom, accompanied with various off-chain interactions. Then you sort of present that in an abstract way to your AI algorithm. So from the point of view of an AI algorithm, it shouldn't matter much whether it's running on Ethereum, Neo, NEM, or even something that's not a blockchain as we currently conceive it, but is developed in a few years. So you have a sort of abstraction layer between the blockchain and the AI algorithms. Then you have AI algorithms, which can be deep neural nets, evolutionary learning, logical reasoning. They could be our OpenCog, general intelligence architecture. They could be something I've never heard of that some random hacker from Turkmenistan has cooked up and put onto the network. And then you have application developers building vertical market-specific solutions on top of these AI algorithms, which could be aimed at medicine, finance, banking, robotics, whatever the customers want. Then these algorithms and these solutions and applications, they operate together in a marketplace where end users can buy and sell services, and the AIs that are serving the end users can themselves outsource work to other AIs. So it's a marketplace in which AIs buy and sell and trade with each other, as well as a marketplace that humans and their software products on the outside use to buy and sell AI services. And that marketplace is where our cryptographic token, the AI token, plays a role. And one of the things we're doing with this is using it as a platform for delivering our OpenCog artificial intelligence engine, which is something I've been working on for 20 years, really, although we open sourced it as OpenCog only 10 years ago. And the OpenCog engine underlies the AI of the Sophia humanoid robot, and it also underlies a bioinformatics project I've been working on with some folks in Shenzhen, Hong Kong, called Goertzel, using AI to analyze genetics data. And these are just two examples of applications of OpenCog, which we're integrating with SingularityNET platform. Next. So yeah, the Moza product lets you chat with an AI, which is a sort of artificial scientist assistant, and then explore vast amounts of genomics data. And this ties in with other projects which are letting people put their DNA data and other medical data on the blockchain so they can control and monetize their own medical data. This supplies AI tools that let people analyze this data and let researchers analyze this data in a decentralized ecosystem rather than a centralized ecosystem of big pharma companies and whatnot. Next. And the Sophia robot, this is constructed by a separate company, Hanson Robotics, who I've been working with as chief scientist for a number of years. What we're doing now is working on using SingularityNET and OpenCog to upgrade Sophia's intelligence. Next. And among other projects there, we've been using OpenCog and SingularityNET to enable Sophia to be a meditation assistant, which is kind of cool. She looks in your eyes, tells you to take a deep breath and calm down. Visualize yourself floating with a robot in an empty space. And we're doing some systematic trials of this, and for many people, this actually helps them get into a quite deep meditation state that they were unable to get into otherwise. Next. This is a brief video of some trials we did here at Hong Kong PolyU. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be getting sound from the presentation, but I guess that silence is the essence of meditation anyway, right? So the robot was looking this guy in the eyes and sort of coaching and leading him through a meditation session. And this particular guy, in the post-interview, he found that he'd been trying to meditate for years with humans in a group and by himself. He hadn't been able to do it. And using our AI engine controlling the robot actually helped, which is, is really quite interesting. And this is just one among a host of different applications we can do. And as we get more and more different AIs integrated into SingularityNet, there's more and more amazing applications you can do. I mean, some of them are about making people money, AI for financial trading and whatnot, but some are really about just doing good, like curing diseases and helping people achieve states of consciousness they haven't been able to get into before. Next. So we can use this to connect different robots together, where multiple robots see and do different things, but their minds all connect in the SingularityNet, in the AI mind cloud. Next. And of course, not just robots. Internet of Things plays a role here also. We can interoperate SingularityNet with a number of different blockchains specialized for Internet of Things. And as sensor networks around the world gather data and supply intelligence, all this feeds into the global AI matrix, where who owns each piece of data and who accesses it is tracked on the blockchain. So this emerging global brain of distributed internet intelligence is not a monolithic thing brought by a government or large corporation, but it self-organizes in the blockchain with collective ownership and guidance. Next. So we're building this now. I mean, we're in the midst of creating this software platform. There's an alpha version, and we're recruiting partners, and we're recruiting AI software developers, and we're building our community. Next. And this year, 2018, toward the end of the year, we'll launch the first scalable platform with a bunch of commercially viable AI agents on it, and we're working toward that gradually throughout the year. There's a bunch of code in our GitHub already, and then toward the end of this year and through 2019, we'll expand the marketplace more and more. And we're really looking at getting network effects going, similar to what companies like Google, Uber, Airbnb have done. I mean, if we can get more and more AI developers putting code in the network, and more users choosing to access AI on our network instead of on Amazon AWS or Tencent Cloud or whatever, I mean, this can grow to be literally the biggest initiative on the planet. And it should be, because it's not just a company, right? It's like a digital biological organism. It's a protocol that people can use to upload their data, to upload AI algorithms, and to get all sorts of AI services. And we're putting some of our AI into it, such as OpenCog, so as to seed it with intelligence. But the crux of it is to create a way for AIs to talk to AIs and outsource work to AIs, and to do work for people and take data from people. And this is how you build a decentralized global brain. QED.
Good stuff, and right on time. Okay, so they brought me up here to play a bit of devil's advocate. Unfortunately, unlike Ben, I don't get to work on a lot of these fun, exciting, change the world projects. I spend my time working very tangibly with different sized companies in banking, insurance, energy, gaming, these things, modeling sort of tangible problems. Companies will come to me and say, we have a problem, we have some data, our staff needs to do something with it, design an algorithm, design some AI for us. So in some ways, it's sort of the opposite of what you're doing, where it's not a generalized AI, but it's a very narrow and specific use case AI. So one of my concerns, or one of the questions I see, is AI is super overused. Everyone and their mother does AI. Everyone that can copy and paste 10 lines of Python does AI. What used to be called automation with a script is now called AI. What used to be solver in Excel, everyone calls AI. And on the other hand, you have things like Sophia, which is fantastic AI. I don't think the public's educated enough to know the difference. So the first sort of challenging question is, even if we put this on this fantastic democratized system, how do you prevent people from just sort of using copy and paste junk, garbage in, garbage out?
Oh, well, there's a number of different issues wrapped up in what you just said. Sure. So I also spent a lot of my career building narrow AIs for corporate customers and government customers in different domains. I think all that work is valuable. The way I'm looking at SingularityNet is it's a platform where narrow special purpose AIs and more abstract generalization-oriented AIs can interact and share information. And then you get a greater AI out of the interoperation of these AIs in the network. And if you look in the human brain, I mean, our visual cortex is very specialized, right? But yet we also have a portion of our brain which is good at generalization and abstraction. So I think the more concrete problem-specific AIs and the more abstraction-oriented general AIs all have a role. What we're trying to do is build a sort of very sophisticated glue and a protocol for these all to communicate with one another. But your question about how do you stop garbage from accumulating in the network, I mean, this is something we've thought about a lot. And so, as you saw if you read our white paper, we're designing a very sophisticated reputation system for SingularityNet. So when it's human beings rating other human beings on Airbnb or something, it becomes pretty simple. I give you 4 stars or 4.5 stars or something. On the other hand, if it's AIs rating other AIs to decide which AIs to outsource to, you can have a high-dimensional tensor as a reputation structure, right? I mean, an AI can rate another AI on how well it did in multiple dimensions and in various specific contexts. And I think this becomes very important, and then that becomes a machine learning problem to predict, like, are these guys gaming the reputation system somehow, right? So, I mean, I think it's a significant part of building any system like this. How do you regulate quality? But I think we want the network itself to confront that as an AI problem, so it becomes recursive. As the network's intelligence increases, it can become more intelligent at policing reputation fraud and increasing the accuracy of reputation assessment in the system.
Interesting. You touched on 2 things there. The reputation system makes sense, but will people rate the AIs, or will other AIs rate the AIs? And either way, you need some sort of loss function. And who decides what the loss function is, and who decides how you measure? Oh, you. So, Ben, you're going to sit at your laptop all day and rank AIs.
Telepathic.
We're just going to put a cable in the back of your head. That might work better.
Yeah, exactly. It's wireless. You don't need cables anymore.
Yeah, even better.
That's why I wear this hat. I don't want anyone to see my cortical implant.
Even better. Yeah, just my concern is, unfortunately, the masses, and I go back to this a lot, don't always, you don't know what you don't know, or the infamous, what's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect, which is people with...
I mean, the masses have these phones, and they don't understand very well what's happening in the silicon chip inside the phone. But
True.
That doesn't stop them from benefiting from the value of the phone. Right?
There's an old quote, and I don't know who said it, but on these things we have access to most of the knowledge in the world, and most people use them to look at pictures of cats, porn, and argue with strangers. Most people don't use these for anywhere near what they could be used for. So I'm afraid if you just let people vote on AI, it may become a popularity contest or a trendy thing. And to just continue the thought, if we design specific use case AI, who decides if it's good and for what use and where? Or if I'm just going to put a general deep learning algorithm on there that I copied and pasted from Python and wrapped an API around it and sell it on your network, is that really any better than someone coding their own?
Well, so I think the point of having a multidimensional reputation system is you can look at ratings and evaluations go into blockchain also, right?
Right.
So who evaluated who, in what way, for what purpose is there, and how accurate those ratings turned out to be in the light of future activities, that's also all there, right? So this all feeds in. So I think the transparent and immutable nature of blockchains is a huge help in combating various pathologies of rating and reputation systems. But to address your example of someone who writes 10 lines of Python to wrap up TensorFlow in an AI agent, I mean, those AI agents are useful. They should be there. But if any undergraduate student can write them, they become commodities rapidly, and then the price will become low. But then what you'll find is as blockchain technologies develop beyond where they are now, like with 3 or 5 years from now, it'll be much cheaper to get these services via a decentralized network like SingularityNet than via Amazon or Tencent or something, right? So simple to code AI will become a commodity, and
Sure.
that's as it should be. And then there will also be more cutting edge AI that not everyone knows how to implement. And there will also be AIs that have learned a lot from interacting with people, and that learning becomes the commodity rather than the software code. It's the knowledge that the AI has gained, and it's going to be rapidly changing, right? Because there's going to be new AI algorithms every year. There's going to be new sources of data every year, new types of interoperation between AIs every year. So really, what the main drivers of value will be in a decentralized AI network like 3 or 4 years from now, I don't know. and nobody knows. So what we're trying to build is the protocol by which AIs of various types can serve each other and serve people across various vertical markets, and it's quite a flexible protocol. I mean, just as, I mean, when the internet was first introduced, people didn't really know what, like, TCP/IP protocol was going to be used for.
They still don't.
Right? No, but it's used for a lot of different things, and it works, right? So that we're, in a way, SingularityNET is like the plumbing for the global brain, right? And then specific AI tools like our OpenCog engine or like deep neural nets, I mean, these live on top of that, and they provide specific AI services. So, I mean, I have my own guesses regarding what kinds of AI are going to be the most valuable going forward, like mine, but SingularityNet isn't premised on that, right? It could be that 3 years from now, some statistics algorithm that you came up with, or some learning engine that some random 16-year-old from Eastern Europe came up with, is the best thing at solving all sorts of problems across various markets. Then that gets rated highest, and that's what dominates the SingularityNet. And if that happens, right, then SingularityNet still wins. It's doing its job.
Sure, no, that makes sense. Just briefly, let's pivot away from Singularity a bit.
Sure.
I wanted to touch briefly on the issue of blockchain, since that's sort of what this conference is about. And we'll probably disagree on this one as well, but that's what makes it interesting. In my perspective, a blockchain, not the blockchain, but a blockchain is really just a ledger or a database. And sadly, what I'm seeing now is every business out there decides they're going to put it on the blockchain because it's somehow magically better, or it raises their valuation, or they raise more funds, or they can float an ICO. But I would argue 90% of them don't need a blockchain. Other people say blockchain is going to change the world. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on sort of misusing blockchain versus,
Well,
I mean, yes, SingularityNET is an example of a good use of blockchain, but what about all the other groups out there putting everything in the world on the blockchain?
Well, all the other groups out there is a very big and heterogeneous group.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, I think blockchain is a transformative technology, and you could go through one business or government organization after another, and you could see how it could radically improve things. Like movie production business, full of corruption, full of data all over the place, it's badly managed. Having blockchain there, yeah. Shipping, I mean, how many forms have to get filled out in order to ship something from point A to point B? How many transactions?
But couldn't I just redesign the user interface for shipping and have one nice Oracle database with a proper UX? Doesn't
Why
need
do I want
blockchain.
Oracle to own the shipping industry?
Or any open source database, MySQL, MariaDB, take your pick. Why does it need to be blockchain?
I mean, if you look at BigChainDB, right? I mean, which is a blockchain-oriented database. I mean, the early version of that, it's Redis with a blockchain-based interface, right?
So why not just Redis?
You can start that way, but now BigChainDB is being absorbed into Ocean, which is a decentralized data protocol. So to me, it becomes at that point, it becomes as much about governance as anything else. It becomes about, can you have a network which is a digital biological organism that nobody owns, where the data can live everywhere and nowhere, and the data can automatically be moved from one place to another, automatically be replicated in a way that no one person or no one company has to control. And there's a lot of work to get to that point, though. So I think for a company right now, much of what they're going to get by putting the data on the blockchain internally, they could probably get in some other way. On the other hand, for the world as a whole, it's pretty interesting to have all the data about global shipping or global movie production just like on an open blockchain, which is not owned by a few magnates or a few big Hollywood companies. So I think there's a lot of subtlety there, which you'd have to drill into one industry after another to look at. Like look at medicine, right? So you have 23andMe. Okay, you can upload your DNA and it goes into their Oracle database, fine. On the other hand, you could use Shivam or Nebula Genomics and you upload your DNA and it's living on the internet, it's encrypted and you own the key to it, right? And then if someone wants to use it for research, they tell you and they end up paying you for it and you can make whatever bargain you want, right? So it's not so much about the database technology, but it's about the control structure underlying it.
So it sounds like, from your perspective, the real value to blockchain often, not always, but often is not the technology, but the democratization.
Right now, yeah, because right now, blockchains are slow and awkward in many ways, right? But we're early in the development cycle. So like right now, if you look at all the tools you have on like Tencent Cloud or AWS, those tools don't exist for a purely decentralized infrastructure. Now, 5 years from now, it may be that a globally decentralized infrastructure does more than these big companies' cloud services. So at this moment, you're getting democratization and decentralization, which is interesting in terms of the control structure, and you're fighting with some, in some ways, very awkward technologies. But we're at the very early stage of development now.
True, but I also would argue that a lot of businesses don't want to be decentralized or democratized. The film industry, I grew up in LA and Hollywood and have friends in the industry. They're all private companies for profit. And some of these great movies we see are because the only reason studios produce them is for profit.
What they do, so I'm involved in that industry in Hollywood, and the film companies want blockchain because they want to track everything going on internally, because there's massive corruption and no one has a handle on all the leakages of intellectual property and money. So they actually do want a blockchain there just to have a way to keep track of everything. And I mean, I've also worked with large companies like Cisco Systems, and Cisco is a decentralized autonomous organization. I mean, if you think about it, like no one knows everything happening in that organization. It's just like an octopus with more than an octopus. It's like a 1,000-tentacled octopus. So large organizations, they want blockchain just because there's no other technology that will keep track.
So they want a private blockchain then, internally. I don't think Cisco wants all of their internal financial records out to the world.
I would imagine not, no. But we're talking about blockchain, which is either private or public.
But again, why not just use it? If it's internal, why not just use a database? Set passwords and write permissions to the right parties and have a standard database.
They have a lot of databases there, and it doesn't seem to be solving all their problems at the moment.
The blockchain is just another database, right? So couldn't you just redesign a proper SQL database and not use a blockchain?
Well, whether you want to use SQL for all Cisco's data is a different question, right? But yeah, I mean, I think blockchain in itself is sort of a plumbing layer, right? And there's a lot of other interesting things that are being built on top of it, which are useful. And which of those is most useful in each industry becomes a long story. So in the biology domain, which I've done a bunch of work in, like homomorphic encryption is valuable because you want to have your personal medical data usable for analytics in certain ways, but you don't necessarily want every aspect of your personal medical data to be viewable by the people doing those analytics. Now, of course, you could implement homomorphic encryption on top of an Oracle database also. On the other hand, what Oracle is actually doing is integrating blockchain into their offerings, right? I mean, as a company. So then your Oracle database will actually be an Oracle suite, which uses blockchain for a bunch of different things along with traditional Oracle technology. So there's a collection of technologies there, and there's a lot of interesting things, of which homomorphic encryption is one, for which a blockchain-based implementation seems to be the most natural and elegant way to do it. That's not to say it's the only way to do it.
Interesting. From my perspective, I look at any business, and I sort of have a simple 3-rule test when, do you need a blockchain? This should be like a simple one-page website somewhere. One, are there multiple parties writing your database? If it's only one writer, you either trust them or you don't. It doesn't matter. The second is, do the writers not trust each other? For example, if you and your wife are both writing to the database and you're the only writers, hopefully you trust each other. You don't need a blockchain.
Any large company consists of a great number of parties who do not trust each other.
Right, and the
third within that company.
Right, and the third test is there not a third party like an escrow company that you trust? So if you can check all 3 boxes, then a blockchain makes sense. And for a lot of businesses, it might, and for a lot of businesses, I think it won't.
Well, for most large businesses or government agencies I've done consulting for, they meet those criteria. There's no one who everyone trusts.
Fair enough.
I mean, so that's, yeah, I think this will be an interesting avenue for SingularityNET, which is not what we're addressing initially, but I mean, once we have a very robust global network of AIs, which is running on the blockchain, and which has AIs outsourcing work to each other, and is smarter than the AIs that big companies are using internally within their private networks, then you get into like, how do we make on-premise copies of part of SingularityNet, and how do you deal with private data on the cloud,
Sure.
private data
Yeah,
on the
management of data and
network.
privacy is going to be
Yeah,
a
yeah,
a
yeah.
complex issue.
Right,
With
right.
all the different algorithms and AI
So,
sharing
I mean, all
data,
that-
how do
so
you do
all-
that?
Yeah, all that needs to be done, and it's as much a organizational problem as a software problem, right? So we're starting with public blockchain and with agents just living publicly. I mean, data is encrypted, but it's not behind the firewall of some company. But there's no doubt that we'll need to go there. And we've talked to a lot of people who want SingularityNET AI and our OpenCog AI used to help deal with various computer security-based problems. Because, I mean, machine learning and machine reasoning for computer security is a huge area. But for that, things have to run on-premise in most cases. So then
But that's solvable with some
already-
encryption and some network stuff.
Yeah.
That seems easy. Now, we've got 2.5 minutes left, and I want to open a really big can of worms in 2 minutes left.
Yes, AI will take over all the world and obsolete the human race.
See,
We're
my
done
fear,
for.
if I debate him too
Yeah,
much, is
yeah.
instead of Sophia,
Yeah.
he'll build a Terminator next. No, the question is, where do you draw the line semantically between just automating something and AI? Because it seems to have gotten blurred a lot in the current trendy environment.
I don't think that's an important question. To me, that's like asking, where do you draw the line between a life form and a complex self-organizing molecule? Like, is a virus alive? Well, we're not. Is a retrovirus alive, right? I mean,
That's fair.
life it's a word that people made up, and then when you really dig into it, it devolves into a bunch of properties, right? So I mean, it's the same way here. I mean, what does intelligence actually
Sure.
mean? It's a word. It doesn't matter.
I actually, yeah, even though it's in my company name, we try not to use the word AI. I think that's something made up by a sci-fi writer somewhere. I sort of look at machine learning and mathematical models
Well,
is
but
how
when-
I
when
like to
is
view it.
When is it learning? Is a linear regression algorithm learning?
You're optimizing a function.
Yeah. So
Using
I mean,
some math somewhere.
I mean, natural language terms.
Semantics.
Natural language is ambiguous, and I mean, we can get annoyed about it, but natural language terms just are ambiguous. I mean, this is part of why I introduced the distinction between narrow AI and AGI, artificial general intelligence, because I didn't want to say that an AI that just plays chess, for example, or just like predicts a stock market time series, I didn't want to say that's not like a real AI. I mean, it's doing something where if a human does it, you consider it highly intelligent, but yet it's not able to understand the problem it's solving in a broader context, right? It's
True.
And the ability to solve a problem in a way that takes the broader context into account, the ability to make a big leap, a creative leap beyond anything you've seen before, that did seem like something different than what a nonlinear curve fitting algorithm is doing, which is why I start talking about AGI versus narrow AI. But then you get all kinds of borderline cases also. You have like slightly narrow AIs, and you confront the fact humans are not completely general purpose either, right? We're highly biased to do some things better than others, but that's just part of the game that humanity plays, right? We invent concepts, and then we break them, and we invent new concepts, and that's how knowledge progresses.
Good answer. Fair enough. And we're out of time. So let's leave it at that. But thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the good question.